Far beneath the rolling waves of our oceans, in a place where sunlight can never reach, scientists have found something that should not exist. In 2020, aboard the Ocean Explorer research ship, a team piloted a submersible into the Gulf of Mexico and discovered one of the most disturbing sights in modern oceanography, a lake. Not a metaphorical one. A real body of liquid, complete with rippling waves and a distinct shoreline, sitting at the very bottom of the sea. At first glance, it looked like a mirage. A shimmering pool carved into the muddy seafloor, reflecting light in an otherworldly shimmer. But as the submersible approached, the illusion only sharpened. The pool was real. And it was deadly. These strange features are known as brine pools, and they are some of the most extreme environments on Earth. Their existence challenges how we think about the ocean, about life, and even about the possibility of alien ecosystems on other planets. They're often called underwater lakes or death lakes, because almost every living thing that enters them is killed within seconds. And yet, clinging to their edges, scientists have found organisms that shouldn't survive, creatures thriving in conditions so hostile, they may hold clues to life's deepest mysteries. So, what are these lakes really? How do they form? And why do scientists risk their lives to study them? Let's descend into the abyss to find out. Imagine you are inside a titanium and steel submersible, sealed in a sphere barely big enough to sit in. As you descend, light fades quickly. At 200 meters, the ocean is already pitch black. At 500 meters, the weight of the sea pressing on your craft equals 50 elephants standing on every square inch of its surface. By the time you reach 1,000 meters, the pressure is over 100 times greater than at the surface. If the hull cracks, you would be crushed instantly. At last, your lights flicker on and the seafloor emerges. Strange white crabs scuttle across a barren, muddy plain. Transparent fish dart away. Then, in the distance, your lights catch something glimmering. You move closer. And there it is, a shimmering surface that looks exactly like the surface of a lake on land. Only you are already underwater. It's unsettling because it breaks your brain. Water isn't supposed to pile up inside water. But here it is, a lake within an ocean. The secret lies in geology and chemistry. Millions of years ago, much of what is now ocean was once shallow inland seas. When those seas evaporated, they left behind massive deposits of salt, sometimes thousands of feet thick. Over time, layers of mud and sediment buried these salts, sealing them underground. But the Earth is restless. Cracks form. Fluids migrate upward. And when seawater flows through those buried salt layers, it dissolves them, becoming far, far saltier than normal ocean water. Seawater normally has a salinity of about 3.5%, roughly 35 grams of salt per liter. But brine pool water can reach 10 times that concentration. That makes it denser and heavier than surrounding seawater. Instead of mixing, the brine sinks into depressions and craters on the seabed, pooling like liquid lead. The sharp difference in density creates a visible boundary, a perfect interface where two worlds meet. To the human eye, it looks like the surface of a pond. You can even see tiny waves ripple across it when the submersible disturbs the water. Sometimes, the edges of the pool are rimmed with crystalline salt, forming a white shoreline. And from the surface of that pool rises a faint shimmer, like heat rising from desert sand. It is beautiful. But it is also lethal. These pools are filled not only with salt but with toxic chemicals. Hydrogen sulfide, a gas that smells like rotten eggs on the surface, is present here in concentrations strong enough to paralyze nerves and shut down cells. Methane seeps bubble up from beneath, adding another layer of toxicity. The result is a chemically stratified environment that suffocates anything that enters. Scientists operating remotely controlled vehicles have filmed fish and crabs wandering into these pools. The moment they cross the invisible boundary, they begin to spasm. Within seconds, they stop moving. Their bodies sink to the bottom, preserved in the brine. Along the shores, researchers have found piles of corpses, silent graveyards marking the border between normal seawater and the toxic lake. One of the most notorious pools discovered so far has been nicknamed the Jacuzzi of Despair. Located 3,300 feet deep in the Gulf of Mexico, it measures 100 feet across and 12 feet deep. The water inside is nearly 4 times saltier than the surrounding ocean, loaded with hydrogen sulfide and methane. Scientists say that if a diver somehow entered it, they would be killed almost instantly. And yet, even here, some life persists. That's the part that unsettles researchers the most. Despite the toxicity, brine pools are not sterile. They are alive. At the boundaries of these pools, clinging to the very edge of death, entire ecosystems flourish. Tube worms, mussels, and shrimp gather along the rim, forming dense colonies. They don't eat plants or plankton. Instead, they depend on chemosynthetic bacteria, microbes that can survive by metabolizing the toxic chemicals from the brine, turning poison into energy. This is radically different from how most life on Earth survives. On the surface, nearly all ecosystems rely on sunlight. Plants and algae use photosynthesis to capture that light and turn it into food, which then supports animals. But in the deep ocean, there is no light. Life has evolved a different strategy. Bacteria at brine pools use chemosynthesis instead of photosynthesis, feeding on methane and hydrogen sulfide. And just like plants, these bacteria form the base of a food chain. Mussels filter them out of the water. Shrimp and crabs feed on them. Tube worms host them in specialized organs. In other words, at the edge of a deadly lake, life not only survives, it thrives. Studying these ecosystems matters for 2 enormous reasons. First, they may help us understand Earth's climate future. Dead zones, regions of the ocean starved of oxygen, are spreading worldwide. They form when pollution and warming waters strip oxygen from the sea, creating vast lifeless regions. Brine pools are like natural laboratories showing what extreme dead zones look like and how ecosystems collapse, or adapt, under those conditions. By studying them, scientists hope to predict what might happen if human activity continues to destabilize Earth's oceans. Second, brine pools are one of the best analogues we have for extraterrestrial life. NASA and other space agencies believe that icy moons like Europa and Enceladus may have salty oceans beneath their frozen crusts. If life can survive in Earth's brine pools, without oxygen, without sunlight, feeding on poison, then perhaps life could exist on those moons too. Brine pools are like windows into alien biology, showing us just how flexible life can be. But not all brine pools are equal. Some are shallow and relatively small. Others are massive, stretching across the seafloor like hidden lakes. Some glow faintly from bubbling methane seeps. Others sit silent, their surfaces smooth and still, as if waiting. In the Gulf of Mexico alone, scientists have documented dozens. The hot tub of hell is another infamous one, so toxic that cameras recorded dozens of dead fish floating inside. In the Red Sea, hypersaline brine lakes lie in trenches more than a mile deep, where oxygen is almost completely absent. In 2022, researchers even discovered new pools that had gone untouched for thousands of years, perfectly isolated from the ocean around them. And yet, we've only scratched the surface. There could be hundreds, maybe thousands, of these pools scattered across the seafloor. Each one a natural chemical laboratory. Each one a trap. Each one a glimpse into life's outer limits. Now, imagine you are back in that submersible. You hover at the edge of a brine pool. Your lights shine down, and the water shimmers like quicksilver. A crab wanders too close, tumbles in, and lies still. Tube worms sway at the edges, their red plumes glowing faintly in your lights. The pool looks inviting, almost beautiful. But every instinct in your body tells you this is not a place for humans. This is forbidden. The Ocean Explorer crew felt it too. They described their 2020 discovery as mesmerizing and terrifying all at once. To sit just a few feet above that shimmering surface, knowing that one mistake could mean certain death, was enough to make their skin crawl. The lake looked alive, like a breathing entity, silently daring them to cross. And yet, that lake, and others like it, may hold some of the answers to humanity's biggest questions. How did life begin? How far can it stretch before it breaks? And if life can survive here, could it also survive on other worlds? We think we know our planet. We've mapped the continents. We've named the mountains. We've charted the skies. But the oceans? They remain Earth's final frontier. Hidden in their depths are lakes that shouldn't exist. Lakes that kill almost everything that enters them, and yet, somehow, support life at their edges. Lakes that blur the boundary between Earth and alien worlds. And even now, as you listen to this, another brine pool lies undisturbed in the darkness. Its surface rippling silently. Its waters steeped in poison. Its shoreline scattered with corpses. Waiting. Another secret in a world we barely understand.